While he may not get the fabled end to his time in LA that he does deserve, Cooper Kupp has been a point of reference for the Rams organization for the better part of a decade. I mean, the dude's a Triple Crown winner whose name and number will forever be revered in the City of Angels, and has enjoyed a career that few could have envisioned when he was selected early in the 3rd round of the 2017 draft. And in today's video, we're going to look at the 6 wide receivers taken before him 8 years ago, their evaluation as prospects, and see if any of their NFL careers compare to Cooper Kupp's. Because these are the 6 wide receivers taken before Cooper Kupp. Now, to fully understand why Cooper Kupp was taken at 69th overall, we really have to understand his journey to the NFL. He was a 0-star recruit out of Yakima. Cooper Kupp stayed close to home, accepting one of just 2 offers he received to play D1 football at Eastern Washington University. After redshirting in 2012, Cooper Kupp spent 4 years tearing apart the Big Sky Conference, notching over 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns in every season, understandably earning him 4 FCS All-American honors. But by the time it did come to try and evaluate him as a draft prospect, many people kind of discredited all of the stats that he did put up because of the quality, or I mean, I guess I should put in air quotes, quality of opponents he was facing coming from an FCS school. I mean, really, it was just a lazy narrative. Consider that when he was tested against the elite talent, such as the University of Washington, Cooper Kupp absolutely showed out, notching 145 yards and 3 touchdowns over the Huskies. But I mean, even after that performance, NFL scouts still weren't blown away by his overall athleticism, but Kupp's route running, grit, and relentless production had him rated as a day 2 prospect. He also had a solid Senior Bowl, which did help, not to mention that his father and grandfather having been in the league also did help him, so there definitely was reason to believe that if he did get a chance, Cooper Kupp would survive at the next level. The Rams selected him with the 5th pick of the stacked 3rd round in 2017, which included the likes of Alvin Kamara, Chris Godwin, Kareem Hunt, and Kenny Golladay. This was only the Rams' 2nd pick of the draft, having traded a haul to Tennessee the year prior in order to move up and select Jared Goff. After being drafted, Jared Goff actually did host Cooper Kupp in his first few weeks in LA. The two absolutely hit it off. A solid rookie campaign where Kupp emerged as the team's leading receiver took the league by absolute storm, but this was soon derailed, suffering a torn ACL by the midpoint of the 2018 season, causing him to miss out on the Super Bowl. In 2019 though, Cooper Kupp restored his place as wide receiver 1 for the Rams with 1,061 yards for 10 scores, which was by far his best season yet. He did have a slight dip after a sizable contract extension in 2020, which wasn't ideal, but Kupp strung together one of the best seasons from a wide receiver of all time the following year. Like, I mean, the dude had 1,947 yards, the 2nd most ever in a single season, for 16 touchdowns, paired with an all-time great postseason run of 478 yards for 6 scores, and a playoff record 33 receptions, all capped off by a Super Bowl MVP award. Like, I mean, Cooper Kupp was the unquestionable choice for the 2021 Offensive Player of the Year award, which also helped him earn a 3-year, $80.1 million contract extension shortly thereafter. And yes, while he has struggled with injuries since that contract, he's never quite replicated the insane run of form, but Cooper Kupp was an absolute steal for LA near the top of the 3rd round in 2017. So now that we really just have a grasp of how good and just the trajectory of Cooper Kupp's just career in the NFL so far, now we get to look at the wide receivers that were somehow selected before this guy.
With the 5th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Corey Davis, wide receiver, Western Michigan.
Across his 4 seasons at Western Michigan, Corey Davis had accrued 5,285 receiving yards, which was the most in the history of college football. Like, who would have guessed that Corey Davis has that record? But I mean, his 19 touchdowns as a senior were more than any other wideout in the nation, earning him an All-American nod. His relentless production in college had teams confident that his skill would translate to the next level. And after battling through injury in his rookie year, Davis became the Titans' leading receiver in 2018 with 891 yards for 4 touchdowns. The addition of A.J. Brown to the roster in 2019 did see Davis' production slip in a season where Tennessee made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. But in 2020, Corey Davis actually had probably the best season of his career. He registered 984 yards and 5 touchdowns, which was a respectable output that saw plenty of suitors heading into free agency. He ultimately did sign with the New York Jets for $37.5 million over 3 years, but Davis only saw 2 of those years, hampered by injury in 2021 and 2022, totaling 1,028 yards and 6 touchdowns in New York before retiring at the age of 28 for personal reasons. And now, I mean, look, you really can't call Corey Davis a complete bust because while he was in the league, he did have some good seasons and, I mean, definitely had some good seasons in the NFL, but it's not something that's worth the 5th overall pick in the draft.
Los Angeles Chargers select Mike Williams, wide receiver, Clemson.
Now, a recently crowned national champion with the Clemson Tigers, his 6'4" frame and versatility made him an exciting do-it-all prospect. And it was because of that frame and versatility that it was no wonder why he led the NCAA with 98 receptions in 2016. And in his rookie year, he actually did have to struggle with a lot of injuries, which is something that you're not hoping to have to deal with a receiver that you take this high in the draft. But luckily, he did bounce back in his sophomore year and have 10 touchdowns to nearly double what he had in his rookie year. Williams finally broke the 1,000-yard mark in 2019 while leading the league with his 20.4 yards per reception. Another valiant effort in 2020 paled in comparison to his 2021 season though, where Williams enjoyed a career season as quarterback Justin Herbert truly came into his own. 1,146 yards for 9 touchdowns, finally looking like the player he had been in college. Like, I mean, the dude was a lethal contested catch specialist, and because of that, earned him a tidy 3-year, $60 million extension. Another solid season in 2022, in which he missed the playoffs though because of injury, was followed up by a 2023 season cut short by an ACL tear in week 3. He was released by the Chargers to save in cap space early in 2024, where the Jets picked Williams up on a 1-year deal worth up to $15 million. Unsurprisingly though, the move didn't pan out as he was actually blasted by Aaron Rodgers for running the wrong route on a game-sealing interception against the Bills, meaning Williams was traded to the Steelers by week 10 because of that. I mean, despite the solid start in his time in Pittsburgh, it really hasn't set the world alight, and truly just for a 7th overall pick, Mike Williams is just mediocre value and has never really had the face of his franchise anywhere where he's really gone, and definitely had a lot of nagging injuries along the way. But I mean, at least he did put together a decent career with the Chargers when he was there.
With the 9th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select John Ross.
Now, after missing his entire junior year at the University of Washington because of an ACL tear, the speedster logged 1,150 yards and 17 touchdowns in 2016. At the end of his final college season, he was playing through a torn labrum in his shoulder, but still managed to run a 4.22 40-yard dash, the fastest time ever recorded until Xavier Worthy broke it this past year at the 2024 Combine. And it's kind of funny to know too that actually after running that 40-yard dash, Ross did strain both of his calves, which was a worrying sign of things to come once in the NFL. Cincinnati did pull the trigger with their 9th overall pick, but didn't seem convinced by the rookie, placing him 6th on the depth chart at the start of the season. Like, I mean, for drafting him 9th overall, Ross only touched the ball once in 2017, rushing for 12 yards before fumbling. He missed the tail end of the season due to yet another injury, closing the door on a disastrous rookie year. Things finally did improve for Ross over the next 2 seasons though, as he notched a career-high 7 touchdowns in 2018, but with a subpar catch rate at 36%, he needed to step up his game. His 506 receiving yards in 2019 were promising, but just 8 games played due to yet another shoulder injury wasn't it. In 2020, he publicly requested a trade, but with no suitable partners, sat out most of the season. After joining the Giants, Ross once again failed to impress, signing a reserve contract with the Chiefs in 2023, only to retire 2 weeks later. He did return in 2024 to join the Eagles practice squad, where his most recent taste of action came against Tampa Bay with 1 catch for 6 yards before a concussion took him out of the game. And don't worry, because he wasn't on the Super Bowl winning roster. He was actually waived before December came around. And I mean, honestly, you could kind of chalk John Ross up to just the only reason he got drafted that high is because of how fast he ran that 40, and it's safe to say the first big bust of this draft.
With the 37th pick, the Buffalo Bills select wide receiver Zay Jones from East Carolina.
Now at East Carolina, Zay Jones led the nation with his 1,746 receiving yards in 2016, finishing his collegiate career with a record 399 receptions. His transition to the league wasn't the smoothest, with a 36% catch rate as a rookie while playing through a shoulder injury similar to what John Ross was going through, but he stepped it up in 2018 to be a rookie Josh Allen's favorite target with 652 yards and 7 touchdowns to his name. After 5 weeks of the 2019 season, Jones was traded to the Raiders for a 5th-round pick, where he was fairly unremarkable until 2021, where he became a solid depth piece in the Vegas offense, catching 1 score for 546 yards through the air. This led to the Jaguars signing him to a 3-year, $24 million deal in 2022, where he enjoyed a career season. 846 yards through the air for a total of 5 touchdowns as a resurgent Trevor Lawrence's wide receiver 2. He also came up huge in the playoffs with 157 yards and 1 score across 2 games as the Jags eventually fell to the Chiefs in a tight game. However, as we've kind of seen with the other wide receivers, injuries really hampered Zay Jones, causing the Jags to cut him in 2023. He was picked up by the Cardinals on a 1-year deal, but missed the first 5 games via suspension stemming from an arrest for domestic battering. After a measly 84 yards in the 11 games that followed, considering his selection early in the 2nd round, Zay Jones has provided a lackluster value for his spot in this draft.
The 40th pick, Carolina Panthers select Curtis Samuel, wide receiver, Ohio State.
Now, Curtis Samuel had primarily been a running back in Columbus, but was a huge factor in the Buckeyes passing game, switching over to receiver right before the draft. Samuel's rookie year was cut short by an ankle injury, but he looked promising in 2018, occasionally utilized out of the backfield, finishing with 7 touchdowns to his name. By 2019, though, Samuel was the clear wide receiver 2 behind DJ Moore, and in 2020, he crossed the 1,000-yard total yard mark to go with 5 total touchdowns. As a free agent, Curtis Samuel did pin a 3-year, $34.5 million contract with Washington, but missed most of the 2021 season through groin and hamstring issues. When he finally did see the field in the remaining 2 years of his contract, Samuel was less efficient than he had been in Carolina, but still a valuable wide receiver 2 for a middling franchise. Following that stint, though, he joined the Bills on a 3-year deal in 2024, but has really struggled to find his place in the offense, which, all in all, just decent value considering where he was picked in this draft. Now, the final wide receiver selected before Cooper Kupp in the 2017 NFL Draft, though, was Juju Smith-Schuster, who went 62nd overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Pittsburgh Steelers select Juju Smith-Schuster.
He was a stud in his 3 years at USC, as Smith-Schuster's speed and separation were a concern for NFL scouts, but there was no denying he was a dogged wide receiver and a fantastic route runner. He rapidly rose through the Steelers' ranks, becoming a starter by midseason, racking up 917 yards and 8 total touchdowns when it was all said and done. Juju's sophomore effort in 2018 was even better, though, with over 1,400 receiving yards, earning him a Pro Bowl nod, the only man on this list to receive one besides Cooper Kupp. He was also the youngest player in NFL history to reach 1,500 receiving yards, breaking up a pair of 97-yard scores across his first 2 seasons, which was a great start to life as a pro. But really, truthfully, as crazy as it sounds too, following the departure of Antonio Brown from the Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster really never reached that level that he did have in his first couple years with the Steelers. Knee issues did see him miss time in 2019, and with Big Ben out for the majority of the season, Juju's production dipped. Although he did look back to his best in 2020, earning him a 1-year, $8 million contract, a shoulder injury kept him out for most of that season. The Chiefs decided to pick him up on a 1-year deal in 2022, and Juju's shown as the team's 2nd leading receiver behind Travis Kelce. Schuster ended the year with a seriously improved stock because the Patriots then went on to pay out a 3-year, $33 million deal in 2023 because of it. New England immediately regretted it, though, as it was a miserable year in New England and was enough for the Patriots to actually waive him, but the Chiefs needed reinforcements and brought Juju back to KC. This time around, though, the partnership was far less fruitful as he missed multiple games and had one of the worst seasons of his career. Definitely not living exactly up to all the promises that he had shown early on, Juju Smith-Schuster was easily the best wide receiver on this list before Cooper Kupp, not just because of the success relative to where he was drafted, but he undoubtedly had the highest peak of any others on this list. As we all know too, 7 picks after Juju came Cooper Kupp.
With the 69th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Cooper Kupp, receiver, Eastern Washington.
You know the rest. Looking back at all of the receivers selected before him, it really is hard to imagine redrafting this class and not choosing Cooper Kupp before any of these other names.